The meeting is now reconvened to open session. The board would like to remind the public that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also available via live stream for the public through links found on the front page of the RUSD website. We would also like to remind everyone to please enter and exit through the lobby. We have no action that was taken in closed session, so we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll move to item 5.1, our welcome back to 2025 school year. I would like to ask Superintendent Stock to say a few words to kick off our upcoming school year.
Thank you, President Sadoff. And before I begin my remarks on this, I just want to take a moment to wish our Director of Special Education happy birthday. We appreciate Ms. Holmes spending her birthday with us. And we know that she could think of nothing more that she'd wish to do on the evening of her birthday than spend it with us. But we just want to acknowledge that you're here on your birthday and appreciate that. With that, we are so excited to welcome back our students next Wednesday. Ready or not, here they come. But even more important before we do that, we've been in the process of welcoming different parts of our staff, our RUSD family, back to work as well. Had a great opportunity today to be with our transportation folks at their in-service and share, just thanks and welcome to them, our maintenance, grounds, and operations folks yesterday, and our new teachers and tomorrow, and just a great opportunity to do that. But one of the things that we've done the last several years is to give kind of an official welcome, and we've created a video that features really an opportunity to kick off the year. And we'll be sharing this video at each of our staff meetings and when they convene later this week. But instead of me telling you about it, maybe it's best that we just take a quick look at this video. So and I want to give a credit to Sandeep, our Chief of Communications, who orchestrates this and coordinating all the different messages in the final production. And I think you'll enjoy it, hopefully, as much as our employees do. Hi, I'm Superintendent Roger Stock. Welcome back to Rocklin Unified. While most of us enjoyed the summer off, many of our colleagues were already preparing to kick off the 2024-25 school year for you and our students. There's something special about reconnecting with colleagues or meeting new teachers and staff. It reminds me of when I had the first day of school jitters as a teacher when meeting my new students, making sure I could pronounce their names and having everything ready to start my teaching to kick off the year. If you remember last school year, schools, students, and families committed to improve our attendance rates. I'm so proud of the hard work of our employees, and I'm grateful for our families and students' efforts in getting to school on time and ready to learn. As educators, we understand that students who attend school consistently have greater access to a wide range of services that support their overall well-being. Students from TK through 6th grade will continue to learn about math, social studies, science, and English language arts, with additional arts and music. And our students in secondary schools will continue to have a full range of options, from career technical education, dual enrollment at Sierra College, and advanced courses. Through the continued leadership and ongoing investment provided by the school board, Rocklin Unified continues to invest in academic and social and emotional support. We all look forward to seeing students achieve excellence to their full potential.
I'm Tiffany Sadoff, President of the Board of Trustees for the Rocklin Unified School District. As a former Rocklin Unified student, I'm proud to give back to Rocklin Unified and serve as a board trustee. The board is committed to providing the best educational experience for students and families. The board set a multi-year goal of focusing on math, English language arts, and increasing specialty program options for families, such as our dual language program at Quarry Trail and developing a new arts-focused program at Antelope Creek. I'm proud of the significant gains our students have made in math and English language arts. The many specialty programs throughout our district ensure our students have a competitive advantage when they complete their education with Rocklin Unified. Each year, we graduate students, sending them out well prepared to make a difference in our community and beyond. We would not be the incredible district we are today without the talented, caring, and dedicated teachers, principals, and staff supporting our students every day. As we start a new school year with endless possibilities, thank you to our teachers and staff and to the families entrusting us with your children. We are committed to leading with excellence.
Hey, I'm Travis Mogette, RTPA President. First off, welcome back, everybody. What a great summer. We are ready to start off our 24-25 school year. I want to touch on a couple things as I welcome everybody back. Through collaboration, we were able to bring a lot of new programs to our schools and a lot of new ideas into our classrooms. I'm excited to welcome everybody back, continue that work, and bring everybody on board in a deeper understanding of a collaborative relationship throughout Rocklin. I hope everybody has a great year.
Hi there, I'm Bettina Hart, honored to serve as your new CSEA Union President. Together we stand proud, representing the backbone of this district's workforce. It all starts with safe transportation to and from school and ensuring proper, nutritious meals are available to students. Rain or shine, 365 days a year, including holidays and breaks, our classified staff ensures the district has the operational support to keep schools functional, safe, and open. I am committed to keeping you informed on our ongoing efforts and achievements. At school board meetings, I'll share our progress because what we do directly shapes the learning environment. Teachers and principals rely on us to create the conditions for educational success. Let's continue collaborating with educators to achieve remarkable outcomes. We are all united in our mission, ensuring that schools remain operational, safe, and accessible. Each of us plays a vital role in this shared goal. Together, let's uphold our commitment to excellence and the success of every student. I thank you all for your hard work and dedication. Let's make this a year of unparalleled achievement.
You're absolutely right, Bettina. The work that we all do would not be possible without the time and dedication each and every one of us provides to deliver a warm and welcoming educational environment for students and families. I'm proud of the collaborative relationship we've invested in with both of our labor partners. The school board is proud of the commitment we all made to working together with our labor partners, families, educators, and students to improve outcomes for all. I know that I'm excited to welcome all of you back to work, as well as greeting each of you. If you see me around, stop me and say hi, so I may take a moment to personally thank you for your dedication and being part of the Rocklin Unified family. So I want to thank, we can give a round of applause. I want to, appreciate President Sadoff, Travis Mogette, President of RTPA, Bettina Hart, our CSEA President, for joining us in that welcome. I think it's great when our employees get to see that, we all want to have the best outcomes for kids, and so that's been a tradition in the last few years, and it's great. The only part I don't enjoy is I get to see it like 8 or 9 times, and it's not easier watching yourself 8 or 9 times. So, but I appreciate Sandeep and the work he does, like literally to coordinate that and make that a very high production value, given at least in my case the talent pool he's working with. But we are genuinely excited to kick off the school year, and trustees, I can report that we are ready for school to start. Our team has worked hard, and we are ready for school to open.
Well, I'm sure I speak for the entire board when we say thank you, not only to you, Superintendent Stock, but the cabinet, every teacher, staff member, Sandeep also for preparing that video. I know there is a lot of excitement out in the community right now. We have beautiful campuses because we have had many staff members working throughout the entire summer. We have incredible teachers and staff that are ready to serve our families, and so I know we are very excited for the start of school, and thank you again for all the work that went into not only the video, but the official kickoff coming soon. With that, we will go ahead and move to our employee organizations. We do not have a CSEA report tonight, so we'll move to item 6.2. I'd like to welcome our RTPA President, Travis Mogette, to present the RTPA report.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. I kind of forgot about the video, and I was on campus yesterday, and a person I've never seen before in my life, wearing a Whitney shirt though, so I have to assume he's a good person. He's like, hey, I just saw you in a video. It took me a second to figure out what video maybe he was talking about. Don't worry, they're all good videos, but just what year's video. So anyway, it's great to see that, and kind of, I agree, Roger, it's fun to do those. Sandeep and the team we work with is fun. It's been the same film crew the last couple years, so we kind of get a little bit of, maybe we don't, but I get a little bit of fun banter with them as we, or I go off script because I'm not a big teleprompter guy, so anyway. Again, like everybody, just welcome back. It's hot, by the way. I've been in Oregon on the coasts pretty much since like 2 days after school got out until about a week ago. And then came back and went straight into flag football. So it's not only is it hot, but it's hot in the afternoon and it's moving around. So Marty noticed my wonderful appearance. I did have time to go from practice to the pool, back to dry clothes, and get to the board meeting tonight. So that'll be my fall meetings. It'll be maybe not time to jump in the pool and rinse the gross off, but either way, good to be back. Superintendent Stock mentioned this already a little bit, but tomorrow is our new teacher orientation or induction. So my understanding is we have over 40, I think was the last number I had heard, new into our teaching ranks this year. And so it's always fun to see the range of, are we getting new, fresh out of their program people, or are we getting veteran news? And what's great in Rocklin is we get a wide range. And Tony and I talk about this each year. We're lucky as a district where our range typically is a 10-year veteran is kind of our average of our new hires. So we're not just bringing in, not that there's a problem with bringing in fresh out of their programs, but we get really good employees here, and that's a good, proud thing to be. So I know the RTPA team is looking forward to that. One thing that we'll get introduced to that group, and I think I got a chance to bring it up, but just in case we forgot since summer has happened, is we're growing our leadership team. So we actually earned a grant through our CTA partners where we are releasing a 50% elementary leader to kind of serve in areas where my secondary mind just doesn't work in leadership. So Kate Kirk is going to be joining our leadership team in a halftime release and doing a lot of work with our elementary level. I know Bill and her have already got meetings and things going on, so it's already hit the ground running, but just really to deepen that level of collaboration and then more importantly, that level of expertise in areas where I can sit at the table and nod my head and smile the best I can, but at the end of the day, I don't walk the shoes of our elementary people. So that was a big opportunity for us and a good ask from our membership, just how can we get more representation in our leadership team across the board. So we're really excited to see that. So you guys may or may get not get a chance to meet Kate in a formal setting like this, but she'll definitely be at things like labor management opportunities and other things where our leadership team is at. If any of you guys, I know sometimes you guys get an opportunity to stop in a new teacher. She'll be there tomorrow with our kind of our regular leadership team. So that's kind of an exciting opportunity. Bettina, it was great seeing her on the video. Haven't had a chance to touch base with her personally yet since we got back, or are all coming back, but huge shout out to all of our CSEA partners. By far, the best our campuses have ever looked in my time working in the district. And I've only been on a couple high school campuses so far, but the exterior of Rocklin High looks brand new again. Like it's almost like blinding, it's so bright and vibrant. Like it's a little bit overwhelming, but in a good way. And then I feel bad because I brought my flag football team into my classroom for the first time yesterday. So it kind of undid a little bit of like, I walked in there and was like, maybe we shouldn't be in here because it's so like perfectly cleaned and organized. And it was great. I got a chance to give a shout out to our actual custodial staff at Whitney because I ran into them. But our campuses are looking better than they have in any of my summers returning in Rocklin. So huge shout out to all those guys, Craig all the way down. Just a great job. I know it has been a brutal summer for those guys, especially the outdoor sides of those departments. It's just been relentless. So again, I haven't been here, but I've seen the numbers and the weather, and if you have, you've probably felt it. But so huge shout out there. As we had summer things going on, I want to give a huge shout out to just that level of collaboration. So we have a lot of summer programs that happen throughout the district with summer schools in their full programs and kind of little mini spin-offs and things where students and staff are interacting together, kids are getting extra support, students are getting caught up, right? All those things that kind of happen in that quote-unquote off-season of summer school. But one thing that I thought was just a great layer of collaboration is one of our summer school service providers reached out to me just about 2 weeks ago and had shared that she works summer school and there were some hiccups in the summer school. It's on the elementary side. And the first question I asked her was, have you had a chance to talk to anybody? And she said, oh yeah, I've already talked to Leslie, so huge shout out to Leslie. But they've already started talking about just bouncing ideas off. And it was a little thing, but can have a big impact. And the topic, just in a nutshell, was we had two complex of programs on the same site. And there was just a little bit of overlap from the two elementary programs at that site. This is my interpretation. If you want the details, we'll defer to those powers that be. But I just thought it was a great opportunity that those two, kind of in the off season, had a chance to connect, throw out something, hey, something to talk about. We don't have to fix it today, but in the future, can we look at X, Y, and Z? And it just, again, deepens that idea of people working together for something we've done a certain way for a long time, but maybe it's time to modify or evolve that to a way that just will work better for staff and kids. So I just thought that was a great thing to come back and just hear that, like, all the work we do doesn't just stop in the summertime, right? It just evolves into what the organic evolution of that would be during the summertime, and hopefully right back into the fall as we roll into fully opening our campuses and welcoming back all of our staff and students. So really kind of cool to hear that little tidbit over a quick phone call. Kind of want to end my comments just on the whole umbrella of safety. I know Marty and I have an opportunity to work on the safety committee and kind of lead that conversation throughout the year. We have definitely committed, as we evolve that process, as just being more intentional and more direct with things there. The safety committee always gets kind of rolling in the beginning, and then, no fault of anybody's, but things get going, and then not that it goes away, but it just doesn't have the emphasis that we think it probably should have all year long, right? Everybody's heightened awareness when something happens in the world, and then stuff kind of complacency settles in. So we want to just make sure that we commit to keeping that going. And a huge shout out to Mr. Flowers as well. He was super supportive last year, and I know Superintendent Stock was part of this, in helping push our athletic programs to kind of look at things differently when it comes to student safety. CIF finally adopted some kind of parent rules for us to all be consistent with. My ask and kind of interest with the board is, if you guys aren't familiar with the whole process, there's a whole presentation and portfolio I won't bore you with, but what CIF has done is ultimately they have identified different parts of the country and the state to follow different safety protocols, given your weather, your all the variables of being outside for our outdoor sports. And then they've also adopted a device that helps measure. So me as a coach, I have a tool that helps me look at and then evaluate what does my team need to modify, if anything, for today so we can still participate, but we can be safe doing it, right? We shorten things, we do less intense, we move to different locations, all these kind of variables. The hiccup there, and again, where I'm hoping the board can kind of help out some of our athletic programs, is the bowl, or the device is called a wet bowl, if I remember correctly. Is that the official name? The wet bowl devices, right now our high schools each have two, is my understanding, or they have one and they're getting a second one. But when you have multiple sports happening at different times or the same time all over campus and some even off campus, it's hard as coaches for them to monitor that device and those parameters continually through practice like we're being asked to do when I'm up here on this field and they're down there on that field, or they're off campus doing this. And so it's been great seeing the coaches and the athletic departments working together and collaborating, and our football guys and our flag football girls have runners, and we're sharing the device and doing the best we can. But if there's a way that the board can help find some resources to get a couple more of those devices for our campuses, I think that would be very beneficial for all of us to stay within those guidelines, as well as keeping our athletic programs as going as much as we can. The beauty of it is it factors in all things, right? We're not in the world of like, it's 100 degrees, now we cancel everything, just kind of black and whitely, because every sport is affected differently, right? Rightfully so, sports with equipment, they have different modifications than a sport like mine with flag football. We're not in helmets and pads, so we modify differently based off of all of those parameters. So it's a really cool system, but it's hard to juggle the thing when we're all overlapping. It's hard enough we're sharing fields and all the other things, and it's just another layer to that equation. So just something to kind of bring to the board's attention. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's a really cool system. It's super user-friendly. Like, in my opinion, they idiot-proofed it as best they could. I mean, it's color-coded, it's very black and white, like, here's where you are, here's what you can and can't do, right? And then here's kind of your red zone, if you will. But again, a huge shout out to Mr. Flowers, Superintendent Stock, for kind of pushing. I know I had asked for that, for help in those areas from a union perspective before I was back into coaching. And a huge credit to Superintendent Stock. He was very adamant about, like, we want to do something, but we need to do something that is consistent, right? We can't just kind of make it up on the fly and kind of do what we want, and then we're different from our other schools or other even league competitors, and why does Del Oro get to do this, but Rocklin doesn't, right? And those kinds of things. So it's been really helpful to have that consistency and then to hear that reiterated through CIF. So again, that's kind of my ask as far as safety goes. The devices, they're not cheap. If I remember right, they're about $1,000 per thing, roughly. And as some of the athletic departments are doing some funding to support more of those, but just if there's a way to look at how we can get more of those for our coaches and our athletes, I think that'll help, because as we know, the weather and the conditions don't usually change for the better during our season. So I don't want to say it, but like, air quality's been really good so far, but my bad, everybody. So anyway, so that's kind of the big umbrella, that safety. The other one, we had summer. We had a lot of things kind of happening right at the beginning of summer when it comes to the big picture of safety around students and the state. I'm sure you guys are all aware of AB 1955, right? The Safety Act that was passed will go into effect this January. So we've seen our struggles from last September all the way till now with our outing or our parent rights policy. Has created a lot of division in our community. I know we've all gone back and forth a little bit. It's been in court in different levels, and it's still there in some areas as well. So I'm going to ask, like I did at the end of the school year, but now that there's a law that makes what we have in place even more legal than it already was, that the board consider when you guys have an opportunity later tonight for things for pending agenda. I know you can't put things on the agenda the same night and take action, but maybe it's time that we finally repeal that thing and let this kind of go away. We start the school year clean. Otherwise, we're just going to continue down this uncomfortable, divisive relationship and kind of situation we've been in since September of last year. So I'm going to end on that note. And again, welcome back, everybody. Look forward to seeing you throughout our Wednesdays together.
Thank you, President Moget. Superintendent Stock, could we get a little more information regarding this tool to measure? I would love maybe a BC to the board, just so we know maybe some options that each of the sites are looking at.
Yes, we'll provide the board some background information and some options going forward, and we'll have that out to you in the next week or two.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
Can I ask also, in addition, could we maybe also look at, we've got trustees on several other committees, maybe the safety committee is another place where we could be helpful to have two trustees on.
Absolutely, and I can discuss with the board president if we want to bring that forward now to appoint trustees or do it at our organizational meeting. And again, trustees are either way's fine, and trustees can go to any of the meetings, and we'll make sure you get the schedule published as well too. So happy to move that item forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to item 7.1, comments from board and superintendent. Trustees, do you have any board comments you'd like to share this evening?
I will just say one thing. So not a lot to report. Since it's been summer, thankfully we've hopefully all had a restful time. But I do have my oldest daughter is going into middle school at Springview, which is a big change. And I've just been very impressed with everything that the school has set up to help this transition for all of the students be as successful as possible. She actually got a phone call from her web leader today to just kind of get her prepared for what's going to come tomorrow with the orientation. And I think it really made a difference because she, it's a little bit of a nerve-wracking time. And then with my other girls' school at Quarry Trail, that they have the Welcome Back picnic coming up the first week of school, and they are just, continuously making efforts to, do that outreach and make sure that they're building the community. And, I know that it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's really valuable to the families up there. The only other thing, I guess I have two things. So I did get to stop at Rocklin High over the summer. They put together kind of a social lounge area in the library where, students can go and hang out. It looks really nice. I know the PTC's been helping out to help put that together, and that's something that we've heard from our students, that they don't always have a lot of places that they can go during lunch, to just kind of,
hang out, and so I think that will be helpful there. And I also heard, even though I'm not a Parker Whitney parent anymore, their PTC paid for all of the students' basic back-to-school items, the pens and pencils, and so each family got a very short list of specific things for their grade level that they need, and so I know, because I've heard from parents, that it has just been just the gesture of it, that that's what they chose to do, you know, for parents who financially need it, but also, you know, it's just back to school supplies. It's just another thing that you add to the list of the beginning of the year, and I just know it was greatly appreciated, so I wanted to give them a little recognition for that.
Well, just appreciation again for back to school. I know a lot of work goes into that, and I know this has been an exciting week, both for staff and for families. I know there was a family yesterday that was playing with Parent Square, trying to figure it out, and they're very excited. I know we've had several events, and they're going to continue tomorrow as we bring back our staff and appreciate them and get them excited for the upcoming year. With that, Superintendent Stock, do you have any comments to share?
Just want to, again, acknowledge, the efforts around welcoming our families. We held our third annual kind of family welcome back fair, which is really an opportunity where we do outreach to some of our families that need additional assistance. And we had a chance to help volunteer at Springview where that was held. And a shout out to Sarah Soares, who really led that effort. But it was great to see. We had 9 different community partners there, from the city of Rocklin to different county services, Sierra College, and just an opportunity for families to do data confirmation, to if they needed to get a backpack and supplies. Kaiser donated a ton of backpacks, and it was great watching like a 5-year-old pick out his Mario backpack for kindergarten. And it was just a very well-conducted event, and it really was wonderful for parents who we all want to make sure our kids are ready and have what they need to start school, to really have that comfort knowing my kid has everything they need. It's not like just the night before school, but that they're ready to go. And just a shout out to our community that gathers to help provide that and make sure that all the different services parents are aware of, kind of in a one-stop shop. So we had our nutrition services folks there, our transportation, our technology folks, and our ELOT program, just a whole listing. And it's just, I think it's just really kind of one of the best things our community does, is to help those that need a little extra support. So appreciate the efforts to make that an annual event for our families that need that. And so that to me is just a great way to start off the school year. And we again had a ton of vibrant summer programs. We had nearly 500 students engaged in different summer programs, and so really this was our schools never really seemed to have a downtime, which is still amazing to hear that and how ready they are for all the kids to come back.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item 8.1, consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine and will be enacted by one motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the Board of Trustees requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any items removed will be voted on upon following the motion to approve the consent calendar. Does any trustee wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
First by Trustee Price. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Hupp. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Julie Hupp,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes?
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we will now move to action items. Item 9.1. I'd like to welcome up Craig Rouse, our Senior Director of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operations, to join us for this item, action on Resolution 242506 regarding approval of carrier commercial service contract.
Good evening and welcome back, President Satoff, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Stock. So back in 2018, staff identified in the facility master plan and updated in the 2024 Facilities Master Plan that there was a need to replace many of the district's HVAC rooftop units that had extended, that were beyond their life expectancy and they needed to be replaced. During the review of the school site and buildings and equipment, staff identified for the Phase 1 rooftop replacement projects, it's multiple phase, 21 rooftop units at Antelope Creek, 21 units at Breen Elementary, 42 at Granite Oaks Middle School, 44 at Springview, and then 24 at Twin Oaks that require replacement. So the identified HVAC replacement needs, this was included in the Capital Facilities Program, which will be using $15 million out of the $58 million of identified funds. And these funds were identified by using the CFD taxes, state funds, state reimbursement funds that we received for the district, and then developer fee revenues to address these facility needs. So with that, staff is recommending tonight a motion to take action on Resolution 24-25-06 regarding the approval of Carrier Commercial Service Contract for the Phase 1 rooftop HVAC replacement project.
The 21 rooftop units, are they all, I mean, everything's, I don't say all the same. They're all a little different, but they're fit to the, it's not like we're not buying the same units, right? We're buying some that fit the respective buildings that they're going on.
The replacement units will all be Carrier.
Okay,
units,
yeah,
yes.
but that's
So
not like,
each
we're not
one-
buying model A13, times 21 type thing.
So it's a great point. So staff went out and worked with Carrier and identified what curbs would need to be specially made to fit units that weren't the same size as the Carrier units.
Okay.
So in that package includes the curbs, the economizers, the units, and then that's what we're bringing forward tonight.
In this item, I first heard about it. I know that we already gave direction as a board approval for this project, but wanted to bring it forward as an action item for a couple reasons. One, the large cost. I think it's really important that our community knows when such a large cost is happening on an item. I think it's important that it's an action item so they can hear it. But two, to be able to see the action that's being taken. We had set a priority as a board for the safety of our campuses. And part of that included HVAC units. This area can get quite hot, not just uncomfortable, but it could be unsafe without proper air conditioning. And so I appreciate you for hearing that, taking action very quickly over the summer and coming first thing, even before the start of school, to say, hey, we're ready to take action. We're ready to get these items, so that way we're ready to install them as soon as possible. So I appreciate that, and I thank you, Superintendent Stock, for allowing me to bring this forward as an action item, just so our community can not only hear and see the great work that you're doing, but also be aware that the dollars that we approved just a few months ago, we're now actually already taking action on them. So thank you for that.
And if I may, this is the Phase 1 of the purchase, and it's going to be a 3 to 5 year program. So I'll be bringing back first of the year a contract for the installation of the units. We're just purchasing the units through Carrier, and they'll be stored at the Carrier yard. And when we bring the contractor on board, they will coordinate with Carrier and the district to go ahead and we'll phase out how we're going to start, installing these units over the summer. There's going to be a point in time over the summer where we have to identify if we can't get them all done in time before school starts, we'll have to stop the replacement and then schedule throughout the year and work with each staff on a disruption plan to install them before school, on the weekends, and on the holidays. So you'll start to see this over the next couple of years. As we get out of this first year, we'll find out. We'll have good data to say how many can we actually do in the summer based on the available manpower in the area, and then we'll go forward with another recommendation probably at the end of next summer to purchase for year 2.
Okay, so the $2 million for this is just purchasing the equipment. So the pump down, the deinstall, the reinstall, that's a separate contract that will.
Correct. I'm going to start working on that request for proposals here in the next few weeks, and then the goal there is to bring that back first of the year. And then we'll lock in a contractor and we'll start scheduling the work to take place over the summer.
Craig,
Yeah.
what percentage of our HVAC units will the 15 million replace?
Just over about 500. And
Okay,
we have
well-
a need of 900.
900, okay,
So,
a little over half.
2/3%.
Well, we recognize that's no easy task to replace that many, so thank you for getting the process rolling. I appreciate that, and thank you for the thorough update so we understand what to expect as this starts to roll out. So,
You bet. Thank you.
with that, do we have any comments on this item? No? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Trustee Counter, second by Trustee Hub. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Julie Hub,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item 9.2. I'd like to welcome Dr. Tony Limoges, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, to join us for our next item, action on Superintendent Employment Agreement Addendum.
You are absolutely right, President Sadoff. Sorry, he knew I was going to bring that up. That's from his quote. For the next 3 months, I'm going to hit him with that at every opportunity. I thought it'd be funnier than it was. But good evening, trustees. Just to go a little back for the public, item 9.2 is action on the superintendent's employment agreement addendum, is really a continuation of what, for those that remember, in June 12th, our previous board meeting where you provided an overview of the superintendent's evaluation. And on August 2nd tonight, the superintendent agreement draft addendum is attached with the full contract and previous contract addendums, just to be transparent, as requested by the board and the superintendent. So just a slight overview of the superintendent. As the chief executive officer of the school district, is responsible for the overall direction, coordination, and the vision of the district, working at the direction of the Board of Trustees. The superintendent employment agreement addendum is being submitted to the governing board for review and approval. So my recommended action is a motion to take action on superintendent employment agreement addendum.
Thank you for bringing this forward, and I will just say, as the president, how appreciative we are. I know we have gotten to show our thanks for the incredible work, Superintendent Stock, that you have done. A unified district is a very unique district. There are many different needs of our students, our families, our staff, and you do an incredible job addressing each and every one of those. We have senior leadership. We have worked with you closely. You have listened to our concerns. You have responded to our questions. You lead your cabinet very well. And so happy to not only look at this addendum, but also hopefully move tonight to approve it. And so with that, is there a motion to approve Superintendent Stock's addendum?
So moved.
Second.
First by Trustee Sutherland, second by Trustee Hub. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Julie Hub,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes, motion passes. Superintendent Stock, I hope tonight is a vote of confidence for you, not only in the conversations we get to have with you, but publicly tonight. The incredible work you have done. We are very thankful to have a superintendent with the longevity that you have had with this district. You have brought incredible excellence to this district, and so I thank you for your leadership. Okay, with that, we will move to item 9.3. I'd like to welcome Jennifer Stolliber, our Deputy Superintendent of Business and Operations, to present action on Proposition 28, our 23-24 annual report.
Good evening, President Satoff, board members, Superintendent Stock. Prop 28, the Art and Music in Schools, passed in the November 2022 election and requires a report to the Board of Trustees for approval, submission to the California Department of Education, and publication on the district website. We've already published it and submitted to California Department of Education based on due dates that we kind of got last minute over the summer. And so this is where we're bringing to fulfill that third requirement for you to take action on.
Okay. Just for clarity for the community listening in, this is really just a report that we need to submit just to verify. Perfect. Thank you. Well, with that, I have no questions. Seeing no other questions or public comment, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Trustee Hub. Is there a second?
Second.
Who had it first?
Either one.
Yeah, go for it.
Second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Julie Hub, Yes. Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Jarrett Counter.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to our information item for the evening. I'd like to invite Hannah Anderson, our Director of Innovation and School Programs, so she may present to us item 10.1, the Attendance Improvement Plan.
Okay, good evening, President Sadoff, trustees, Superintendent Stock. I'm excited to be here tonight to share some celebrations about our attendance improvement project during last school year and share with you some next steps for the upcoming year. During the presentation tonight, I'll share about the impact that last year's improvement plan had on our students in the district. I'll also review our goals for the upcoming year and highlight some of the action plans that we will be taking over the course of the next school year. This slide, I hope to bring to you annually, and we can continue to see progress here. It's not intended in this slide that you're able to read every last little bit. I know that it's pretty small, but if you look at the upper right-hand corner of the upper right-hand graph, what you'll see is a blue bar. And you can see since the 2008-2009 school year, that blue bar has steadily grown and then had a little dip down in the 2021 school year, and then has generally been growing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. You can then see that red bar that's next to the blue bar. So what I want to call out in this slide is that the blue bar is the enrollment in our school district. So these are the students as of that first Wednesday in October. So we take a census every year, that first Wednesday in October, and that gives us our student count for the school year. That's our enrollment on that day. A lot of our funding for special programs is based on that enrollment, but that is the total number of students we have in the district is the blue bar. That blue bar is what we make sure all of our students in that blue bar have enough teachers. We make sure all the students in that blue bar have enough instructional materials, have a desk to sit at, are able to access transportation and nutrition services. So that blue bar really drives all of the materials and people that we have to serve our students. The red bar, you can see that there's a difference between that blue bar and that red bar. The red bar represents the funding we receive to serve the students in the blue bar. So the red bar is representative of students, what's called average daily attendance, and it's how we're funded as a school district based on the number of students on average that are in school each day. And so what you can see here is that there's always a difference in that blue bar and that red bar, and that's just the way we're funded in the state of California. However, what we want to see is that that red bar and the blue bar are pretty close together so that our average daily attendance almost matches the number of students we have enrolled in the district. And if I can call out the last 3 years, this is why we engaged in this big improvement project, is that in the 21-22 school year, we saw a big difference between that red bar and that blue bar. There was a lot more students enrolled than we were funded to serve. And our goal has been to steadily decrease that gap, and that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. But you can get a little snippet when you look at that very right-hand side. You see that that blue bar and that red bar are coming closer together. That's what we want to see. That is showing progress in our improvement efforts.
If just real quick on that graph on the lower left, if the red bar and the blue bar ever meet, then the lower left blue bar would be at 100%, right?
Say that one more time for me.
So like right now we're averaging ADA at, call it 95% ballpark. If in the graph in the upper right, if the red bar and the blue bar were to be next to each other, parallel, consistent, then the blue bar in the lower left, your ADA would be at 100%, correct? Because your attendance matches your enrollment.
It would.
Okay.
Thank you for putting it in other words tonight. Appreciate that. Okay, this slide shows our chronic absenteeism. And what chronically absent means is that a student has missed 10% or more of the school year. So there are 180 days if a student is enrolled with us for the entire school year. So that would mean that a student missed 18 or more days. when we think about this in terms that makes sense to those of us parents sending our students to school, we're talking about just about 2 days per month. So if a student misses 2 days per month, that is considered chronically absent by the end of the school year. And you can see that in the historically in our district, we've been below 10%. So we've had 7.3% in the 17-18 school year. And then in the 21-22 school year, where we really knew we wanted to start these improvement efforts, we reached almost 20%, meaning 1 in 5 students was hitting that point of chronic absenteeism. And that means that there's a lot of negative academic markers that go with students who are chronically absent, as well as health and welfare pieces that go with students who are chronically absent. We'll talk a bit more about chronic absenteeism throughout the presentation. You can see that last school year, we're looking at a number that's below 10%, and I'll share that again in a little bit and why we're still gonna work on that number, and we want to see that reduce even more. We have some specific data, thanks to our data system, EduClimber, that can help us parcel out and see how are students achieving or not achieving when they come to our schools or when they don't come to our schools. So this isn't looking at state of California data or national data. This is actually looking directly at Rocklin data and saying, how are students achieving last school year who attended our schools versus who were in that chronic absenteeism space, meaning they missed roughly 18 days of the school year if they were with us for the entire year, 2 days per month, for any reason, even that excused absence, right? So what we see here is that students who were chronically absent, in the left hand graph, you can see that in mathematics, 7 of 10 students who are chronically absent were not meeting their standards in math. 7 out of 10 students who missed 2 or more days per month did not meet academic standards. And then you can see on the ELA chart on the right that 6 out of 10 students who are chronically absent did not meet standards for English language arts. And this is on the 3rd through 8th grade CASP assessment, and that also includes 11th grade, 3rd through 8th grade and 11th grade CASP. You can also see the right-hand side of each one of those charts shows students who attended school regularly. So they had 0 absences up to 17 absences in that school year, right? They averaged less absences than 2 days per month. And you can see the reverse is true. We had 6 of 10 students meeting standards who come to school regularly in math. 6 of 10 students are meeting or exceeding standards. And in English language arts, that grows to almost 7 in 10 students who are coming to school regularly are achieving in our schools. We also have similar data for our youngest learners, our our kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade learners. They don't take that CASP assessment, and so we're looking at our universal screener data, that early literacy data. That's what's compiled here at an aggregate level, and shows that kindergartners who regularly attend school outperform those peers who are regularly absent by 22% in reading. And by 1st grade, that grows to 37, that gap grows to 37%. So we know that students who are regularly attending school are learning in our schools. That's the biggest outcome of this presentation I hope to share is that when students attend our schools regularly, they are benefiting from the academic learning, as well as the social emotional pieces, and we'll get into that here in a moment. Ultimately, we want students coming to school because there is academic learning that's happening when students are present in our schools. Also, when students attend in our schools, they have the benefit of positive social emotional interactions with peers, with teachers. They have opportunity to build relationships with those around them. There's also the way, going back to that red and blue bar, the way that we're funded in the state of California is based on student attendance. So when students don't come to school for any reason, even excused absences, our school district does not receive funding to serve them. And this slide represents a little bit of that data, so I want to make sure that we share this and start building a broad understanding as a community around the way our schools are funded so that we have the funding to serve all of the students who are enrolled in our district. So as we know, enrollment decline since the 1920 school year. It's not specific to, this number is specific to Rocklin Unified, but this is a trend that happens statewide and nationally related to enrollment decline. In Rocklin Unified, that represents 550 students since the 1920 school year. That is shrinking. You saw that blue bar growing on the chart, right? We know that we're growing and that we're closing that enrollment decline, but we still have fewer students enrolled in our district now than we did in the 1920 school year. So the district, on average, is projected to receive 11,900 students per ADA. So that means if a student were to attend every single day for 180 days, we receive roughly, approximately, it's different by grade level, but an approximate number is $11,900. The loss of every 100 students for our funded ADA, meaning we've got about 95% attendance rate, right? So for the funded ADA, that would be $1.15 million. So every 100 students is a loss to the district of $1.15 million. So that means that 550 students, right, that's still a significant impact to our overall budget. The average loss of 1% of attendance, so this is where we can engage in an attendance improvement project and make a difference here for the funding for our students that we actually have in our schools that we are serving starting next week. So we're looking to, or a loss of every 1% of attendance would be $1.38 million to our school district. So we can make a difference by showing up, right, and engaging in academic learning and social emotional learning together. Every day, the average loss of 1 day of attendance is approximately $85. So we think about any absence, even excused absences, when we're out of school, with the exception of two things, independent study and the few students who need home and hospital instruction. Those are the only two ADA generating absences. Every other absence is a loss of approximately $85 to the school district if we're funded on current year only. And then last year, independent study brought in approximately $900,000. So when you take out just students who participated in independent study, and we did receive ADA for those students, that was approximately $900,000.
Anna, excuse me. Yes. You mentioned it, but I just want to highlight and go back just for clarification. So the first bullet point where it says enrollment decline since 2019-20 is 550 students, that's taking a snapshot of the school year 2019-20, how many students were enrolled that school year, and comparing it to this school year. It's not a ongoing decline. It's a snapshot of if we were to compare the enrollment from that year to this year. That is the number, correct?
Correct. It's looking at that census day enrollment, that very first Wednesday of October, where we take kind of a dipstick and say, what is our total population? How many of this student group are in our student population? How many of this students with this ability level are in our population? So we take a point in time count, similar to that 10-year census that happens in our country.
Perfect. And I think it's just important to clarify that, because if you look on slide 3 at that chart, like you were kind of mentioning, I do think it's important to look at, that decline happened right there in the really 2020 school year, 2020, 2021. So that count would have been taken right there in fall of 2020. I think we all remember what happened in 2020. And I know the board and staff has done incredible work to really do outreach with families to really see enrollment increase, and we have seen increase since then. And so I just want to make sure to point that out. So thank you.
Thank you. And yes, we absolutely have. I switched back to that slide so you can see that steady increase, that we are continuing to enroll students, and the transitional kindergarten program in our state is also helping with that increase.
And trustees, just to give a state-wide context, many districts and throughout the state saw a loss of enrollment during the COVID pandemic, and we are one of the few districts and few areas of the state that has actually seen enrollment begin steadily increase. And so that is something that our district is actually unique in actually the increases we've seen the last several years.
And we're going, and I apologize, we'll keep asking questions as you're going, so we'll just keep doing it that way.
That's great, no problem.
So just to make clear, and I think this is where it always gets confusing, whether it's child was sick and I wrote the note, went to the hospital, broke the leg, whatever, it's whether it's an excused or unexcused, that doesn't matter. That's still part of that 5% that's absent, right?
Correct.
And then it was, the one that's out is independent study or home health of that 5%. And I'll take a ballpark. Is that 1% of the 5%, 2%? I mean, like, what percentage of that 5% that's absent is on, just ballpark, on independent study or home health?
None of them. So the independent study and the home
Doesn't
health
count
actually
in
count
that.
in the
Okay.
95%.
Right.
Yes, so yes. And I also want, I'll share this again, but I do want to make sure we understand that sometimes students are ill and they need to stay home from school. And we are by no way encouraging students who are truly ill to be out or to come to school truly ill. We understand that there are definitely times when students need to be home. We're talking about those other times when we truly want students to be attending our schools on a regular basis. If it's a question, woke up with a headache, I'm not quite sure, students are welcome to come to school, and we can always send them to the health office and send them home if they're not feeling well. If students have an issue in the morning and aren't feeling well, but they feel better an hour into school, students are welcome to come to school once the school day has started. Right? As long as students come to our schools with the intent to be at school for the day, they are counted in this ADA generating attendance day. So even if they're only with us for 10 minutes and then it's time they need to go home, if their true intent was to be at school for that whole day, right, then that does count. So I know there's been some parents in the past who've shared with me, well, I thought if I came at 10:30, it didn't count. I was told I had to be there by 10, right? That isn't a thing. You can come at any time and we would like you to be there. If you have a dentist appointment in the middle of the day, we hope you schedule those appointments outside of the day, but it's hard to get those appointments. And so come before the appointment and after the appointment if you can. We want you to be at school as much as is possible, because that's where the true academic learning takes place. Nothing will take the place of that. Home and hospital packets, those are rare, but independent study packets, those are nowhere near as good as the instruction you're going to receive inside of our schools.
I just wanted to recognize the amount of work that goes into those short-term independent study and the revenue that those that are doing that has brought, and I really appreciate that. I know that that's gone up every year, so thank you.
Sure has, yes. I'm very grateful for all of the work that goes into that as well. I'm going to share a slide on that in just a second to highlight that. Okay, so if we were to increase attendance by 1 percentage point this coming year, which is going to be a goal, but what would that $1.38 million look like? And this is an exciting slide for our school, I know especially our elementary attendance and principal secretaries, those clerks. They look at this because, playground balls are a big deal at an elementary school, making sure you have enough recess equipment. So if we brought in $1.38 million, that would be 360,000 more playground balls in our schools. Or we know that that would be 9.5 intervention teachers across the district. So we've had the opportunity to invest through some one-time dollars, that the learning recovery programs or those intervention teachers in our schools, and that would be 9.5 of those teachers' salaries over the course of a year. Or it would be 69 part-time instructional assistants working in our schools, almost 30,000 hours of tutoring for students in need, or a lot of paper airplanes made out of 310,000 reams of paper. That would be very fun, paper airplane party. All right, so what have we done to increase our attendance over the last about year and a half? It's been a truly collaborative effort, including a work group made up of administrators, attendance clerks, our TPA executive board, other school staff members, including counselors at our middle schools, and we've also included our PCOE colleagues who support us in terms of attendance in the school and attendance review board process. We met starting about a year and a half ago in May of 2023 and throughout the 23-24 school year as a team. We were able to review data, identify goals together, focus on specific areas to increase, and then potential action steps. So it's important to our team to not just say, we're looking to increase attendance and we've got this one big idea and that's what we're going to go for. We decided to look at, we're looking to increase attendance, and what are some specific areas where we might work together to target those areas for improvement, including independent study, chronic absenteeism, in the TKK program. We also were looking at 11th and 12th graders. Mondays and Fridays we have lesser rates of attendance than Tuesday through Thursday. So we were very particular about how we were going to improve, and we set some district-wide and small improvement actions. We did a lot of messaging over the last school year, tried to increase our communication, and through the work of our supervisor of attendance, Sarah Soares, revised our attendance handbook and worked with our attendance clerks and our business office and our student information system specialists to really get some feedback on what was working on our attendance procedures and where did we need to make change in order to lessen the impact of how difficult it is to just keep track of all of this attendance work. We did a lot more training with our attendance clerks over the last year, and then we were obviously tracking our progress in these areas. So we set 2 goals last year, so these were the goals for the 23-24 school year. It was to increase attendance by 1% by this past June and decrease chronic absenteeism by a minimum of 5% by this past June. So our target was to go from 94.71% to 95.71%. We are almost there. We're going to put this in the thumbs up category of saying, you know, we made excellent progress last year and went back over 95%, which has been a historic standard in our district to be at that 95 or above range. And so it's important for us to celebrate that success and know that this is 1 year attendance. The way that attendance truly works in the state of California, there's a lot of options for how we look at it, 3-year averages and other pieces. But if we just look at this 1 year snapshot, we are at that 95.44%, which is exceptional, and we're celebrating. We had the opportunity to celebrate with this attendance improvement team. All of our school offices at their clerical welcome back were able to celebrate this, and our principals and administrators at our administrator welcome back. We also decreased our chronic absenteeism rate, so we had still a 13.6 rate. We went down to 9.7. Although we missed that target of 5%, and it's in the kind of medium category, it's really important that we celebrate this as well. To get back under 10% is truly remarkable. We heard from our PCOE colleagues that other districts in our county and in the state are just not hitting this benchmark yet. And so we took some true attempts to do this well. Our principals and our attendance clerks deserve major kudos for this work, because chronic absenteeism is a challenging issue to fix, and it requires personal connections, direct outreach, ongoing support, and they are the ones that are doing that. Right? I have the opportunity to present this to you, but they are the ones that are making those connections and working with these families to break down barriers and get them to school, and that's a wonderful number to see, because that means more kids were at school more often. Okay, so just to share a couple of our improvement efforts, just a few highlights here, and this goes to what Trustee Price was just sharing. We should celebrate short-term independent study. Before I present this slide, I want to say short-term independent study is not as good as in-person instruction. We want students benefiting from in-person instruction, being with their teachers every day. We want them having the opportunity for pro-social positive interaction. But if you are going to be gone from school and you cannot do that at a natural school break, we want you to request a short-term independent study. We'll talk about some potential changes in this area, but right now, if you are going to be out for 3 or more consecutive days, and you know in advance, you need to let your school know so that you can benefit from a short-term independent study. One of the major changes that took place here last year is that we were able to use an online system to be able to process the independent study contracts. That has helped significantly reduce the impact on our school offices in order to put these together. For classroom teachers, this is still a pretty laborious process, especially at the elementary level. Secondary is able to say see Schoology and put those items in Schoology, which is a naturally occurring process there. A first grader, it's a very different process to gather instructional materials for being at home. And that's why we do want you, families, to take breaks at those naturally occurring times. But if you are going to be gone, sign up for that short-term independent study. So there's total number of independent study days. You can see here a comparison. And what you're seeing in the green columns are the 23-24 school year. And so the top line says the total number of days of independent study. So that means the number of contract days. So we had 15,410 contract days where families said, my kid is going to be out and I would like an independent study. An independent study only counts for us if if students do the work and they return it on the day they return to school. Right? Those are the rules for independent study. We have to follow the rules in order to collect the ADA. So 13,633 days worth of work came back. So you can see the change in the right-hand column is that we had a significant increase in the number of days that students were out for independent study, but also a significant increase in the number of days workers returned for. So we were tracking 2 things when it came to independent study. What could we increase and have parents and families tell us the truth when they were going to be out instead of just saying, I'm going to be sick, right? Which we know happens because these things occur, right? And we want for families to be able to take advantage of this option if this is what their family needs. And so the average completion rate, we were also tracking because unless students actually do the work, right, it doesn't matter that they got the contract. So we were also looking at that, and we had an average completion rate of 5%. But what's really worth noting on this slide, right, is that obviously we were able to recoup more average daily attendance. But let's look over here at the right-hand side. We've always had a high completion rate for elementary school. It stayed about the same, right? Middle school completion rate went up a little bit. We're going to continue to work on that this coming year, and we have some theories about why that's where it is. The high schools had a significant increase in the completion rate, which is just a testament to the teachers' hard work of getting that work back. And those 2 attendance clerks per school, one of the 2 takes on this burden of independent study, and they worked their tails off and just did such an incredible job bringing in this. And they had a 10.5% increase in the completion rate of independent study at high school. So that is really exciting, and we think we can do even better than 81%, so we're going to keep working at it. But to go from 70.8%, you're doing all that work to get the independent study packet, but they're not turning it back in, right? The work back in, 10% of an increase in the work completion.
65 is so low for middle school. What do you think the reason is?
So I think that middle schoolers, the first thing that we're thinking about related to this is that it's important that they turn the work in the day they come back, right? And so we know that some study skills pieces at middle school, they're kind of continuing to work on organizing all of their materials and making sure that they're able to get everything back in. The burden of looking at Schoology and making sure I've got kind of those executive functioning skills and I'm able to follow through on those. But those are our 2 best hypotheses right now. And so it's really important to us that we've set this as something we want to work on, but we need to have conversations with middle school teachers, right, and middle school attendance clerks to better understand this issue so that we don't come up with the wrong solutions and then work hard at fixing something that we're trying the wrong items. So that's on our list.
Yeah, in addition to those people, we also, I think, could talk to the families themselves and say, what about this process was challenging? What about this maybe was was, hard to understand how it is, detailed, and you've got to get it, all the boxes checked, but that may be another place is to reach out to the families.
Thank you. And actually, I appreciate you saying that. That was very helpful in our kindergarten reach out when we were trying to figure out what's keeping your kindergartner out of school. So that's a great, thank you for that.
When you look at the improvement or I guess the independent study parts, there's obviously the informing and request, and there's actual physical student doing the work, and then it's handing it in. If you were to, those being the 3 X's of the equation, which one is the biggest? Like if they just, obviously they don't hand it in, but if them physically doing the work, or is it them actually requesting the work?
It's doing the work at the time while they're out. So some of these students will actually get credit for some of this work, but unless it's turned in with the contract in a timely manner, right? They might do it when they come back to school because their teacher is there and supporting them and reminding them to turn it in, or it's showing up on a missing assignment log. But for here, it's about they have to do it while they're out for it to count for those days of attendance while they're out. And then it actually has to be turned back in that day they return.
And then just taking a look at this, there's obviously we made some great improvements, going to 95%. What factor was more people doing independent study as part of that? Like, is that we were at 92 and we're at 95, so is that half of the equation? Just how much of this was decreasing the numerator is where I'm going.
It's a great question. I would need to run the numbers and get back to you. Off the top of my head, I would say that we're probably in the range of 1/3% of our increase.
That's a good improvement.
One of the other areas we were looking at was TK, kindergarten, and 11th and 12th grade, because we saw that those grade levels, if you look at the 22-23 school year, we saw those grade levels had some of our lowest attendance rates. So what we were looking at is, can we increase those 4 grade levels in the 23-24 school year? Now, what I will say is that, like any great improvement team, we had a lot of small improvement projects that we planned on getting started, and we were able to do almost all of them. There was a few that we didn't get off the ground last year. And so one of the ones that we wanted to work on was improvement in 11th and 12th grade. And beyond just the regular communication that they received and the other work on independent study, we didn't do that focused deep dive at 11th grade. What we did do is some work in TK and kindergarten, and I'll speak about that on this slide. So what you can see here is, first of all, if you look at the change column, you're going to see an increase at every grade level. Right? Because across the board, we had improved attendance in the 23-24 school year. That is worth celebrating. So what you're going to look for here is, where do we see an increase that's different than the increase at other grade levels, right? And we see that we had a couple of improvement efforts that we tried in kindergarten. So one of them was that every parent that came to a parent-teacher conference in the fall received information from their classroom teacher that was specific to their youngest child about the importance of attending school. So every teacher was able to engage with their parent, that student's parent, about attendance at parent-teacher conferences. So that personal outreach and information specific to not just attend school, but here's some things and why kindergartners should come to school. So that was one of the things that we did. The other thing we did was, at a couple of our elementary schools, we tried some increased hygiene during those winter months. So to your point, we reached out to families of chronically absent kindergarten students during the 22-23 school year, and we said, what are the barriers keeping your child home? We asked it in a few different ways. And what we heard from them is that during those winter months, their child gets sick a lot because other children are sick. Right? And I know this, I have young children, and so illnesses and colds spread around. And so one of the things that we tried was, if we just increased hygiene, more opportunities for washing hands, more cleanliness around eating times, could we increase attendance? And so we saw an increase of attendance across the board for kindergarten, above that of other grade levels, that we can attribute to that change because it's higher than other grade levels. And also at those 2 schools that had those improvement efforts, those classes, that grade band at those 2 schools outpaced the other kindergartens. So very exciting to just be able to have that flexibility and opportunity to say, not everything that we try is always going to work. But in this case, we were able to try something on a small scale that next year we can do across the board for a few months in our kindergarten programs and keep students in school more. So yes, it takes a few extra minutes to do these hygiene pieces, but students are going to be in school more and benefiting from instruction. Okay, so goals for the coming year is to go another percent. So some of my colleagues have said to me, wow, these are big, lofty goals. And I've said, yes, they are, and I think that we can do it because I think it's important for us to be above 96%. I think it's important for our community that we all believe in the education that Rocklin has to provide, and we can be here benefiting from that instruction happening in our classrooms every day. So it's very important to us that students attend school. We want to get back up into the 96% range, and that is where we have historically been in that 95, 96 range. We would like to be back there. And we're also looking to decrease chronic absenteeism back to that 7.8 you saw on that slide at the very beginning. So if we decrease by another 2%, we'll be at 7.7%.
So I guess taking a look at, just looking at stretch, taking a look at, I think it's 1920 or was it 1819? Looks like it was 1819, 1920. We were right about 97. That was all, again, before the pandemic. What prohibits us from being at 97? Why not 2%? Why not 3%? Why not 97 as the goal, the pre-pandemic goal, as opposed to just 1%?
So I think one of the things that our team has been looking at is trying to set lofty but realistic goals, and I think it's very realistic to say that we can increase another % with the improvement efforts we're going to try for. If we're on target, we meet throughout the year, so if we are meeting in November and we see that, we could stretch and this, is something we can try and we can get to that 97%, I think there's no reason we can't continue to shoot for it. But the 1% was what the team selected.
The other piece too is as you get higher in those percentages, eking out each additional % gets harder because you're really getting that low-hanging fruit and you're working through.
I guess
So,
what I'm saying is before all this started, we were at that 97 pre-pandemic. So trying to get back to where we were, not back to 1% less is where I was going.
No, and that's why this is being brought forward, and we imagine we'll be back next year and continuing to work on this. And part of this too is, frankly, we're having to unlearn some habits and occurrences that occurred during COVID, that, candidly. And so we appreciate the push, and we absolutely will be back as we keep working to inch this out. Because again, ultimately, we do a lot of work to make the experience in our schools top-notch, and we want kids to take advantage of it.
Just like any of our improvement efforts, right? We share with you things that we're doing on a district-wide level, then some of those interventions that are for for some students, and then those that are in the most intensive level of need. And attendance is the same way. So you can see here we have district practices as well as targeted school attendance review team meetings that happen at school sites, and then most intensive sending to that network of support through the School Attendance Review Board SARB process. So a few of our district attendance improvement strategies, you'll see some on here that are very similar to what we engaged with this last year, and it'll just be the second year of these to continue with communications and ongoing training for our site staff, having those site-based attendance meetings, continuing to work on independent study, sharing the increases we've had in some of our special education programs in our most restrictive settings. We've had some great opportunities there to see strong increases, and we'll be rolling that out to other programs. That particular one is working very closely with families and teachers to make that impact. And then you'll see that what we tried in a small setting for TKK last year with those hygiene pieces will now roll out across the district. And then a few small trials that either, some of these are new, but some of them we did not get off the ground last year, are to engage in attendance success plans. And at Tier 2, we tried this at Breen Elementary last year. We saw some success with a small number of students. So this one we want to expand to a few more schools before we roll it out district-wide, just to make sure that it wasn't an anomaly that happened there. We also are going to be looking at family attendance success plans. So typically, if a student is chronically absent, their siblings are chronically absent too. And so really engaging at a systems, school, district level, and Sarah Stories, our supervisor of attendance, will be working on this one, engaging specifically with those families. And then working with our English learner students, making sure that our attendance communication is translated into multiple languages, and especially that short-term independent study is advertised before school breaks. And then the last one is targeting our 11th and 12th grade attendance, convening a small group, engaging our students and families, and really trying to identify what the barriers are there. Very closely with our 11th graders in particular. That's a very important year to be present at school. And so we want to see that percentage increase. And then just to highlight our communications, Chief Dosanjh has done a beautiful job this last school year communicating about attendance. We have an attendance video to share with you here tonight. We also have monthly communication with families through our newsletter, ongoing social media posts. We were able to share a myths flyer, which I just found out yesterday is going to be shared and distributed as a model in the county, so I'm very excited about that. And that we will also be sharing about independent study on an ongoing basis, so before breaks, sometimes families will be looking for that connected to a school break, and so we're wanting to be continuing to advertise that, and then ongoing flyers. But let me kind of get out of this really quickly. We're going to pull up this one.
Hi, I'm Superintendent Roger Stock. We care about our Rocklin Unified students and know that attendance is the key to school success, both academically and socially. When students miss school, they miss valuable learning opportunities and social interaction with their classmates and our phenomenal educators. Any day or hour absent is a missed learning opportunity. Every day counts.
Academically, consistent attendance ensures that students don't miss out on critical lessons and instructions. Each day builds upon the previous one, creating a strong foundation for future learning. Our data shows that students in grades 3 through 8 and in grade 11 with high attendance rates outperform students on standardized tests who are regularly absent by 23% in mathematics and 14% in English language arts. This same outcome can be seen in early grade levels. Students who regularly attend kindergarten outperform students who miss 2 days per month by 17% in reading, and in first grade, the gap increases to 24%. Every day counts.
Socially, school is where friendships are formed, teamwork skills are developed, and connections are made with caring adults on campus. Attending school helps students build meaningful relationships and learn the importance of cooperation and communication. Every day counts. Rocklin Unified staff and teachers care about our students and can see whether they are safe, healthy, and learning when they are in class and in the care of our supportive educators. Our goal is to work in partnership with families and students who may need help breaking down the barriers that contribute to missing school.
From exciting events to everyday interactions, each moment in school contributes to a richer, more fulfilling experience. When students attend regularly, they're more engaged, more motivated, and they achieve more. We're here to support every step of the way. Every day counts. Rocklin Unified in our community has many resources that are available to our students struggling to attend school through our nutrition services, transportation, health, and educational services departments. We recognize there may be various factors contributing to absenteeism, and we are dedicated to working collaboratively with parents, guardians, and community partners to address these challenges.
Let's work together to make sure our students are here, ready to learn, and ready to succeed. Families can help their students by setting healthy daily habits, such as establishing consistent morning and evening routines, packing school supplies in backpacks before bedtime, pre-planning outfits and meals, and utilizing daily planners. These helpful tips will not only improve academic outcomes, they will set the morning up for success and decrease stress prior to the school day. Let's work together to ensure every student has the opportunity to succeed and thrive. Thank you for your dedication to your children's education and their future. Join us in making every day a day of learning, growth, and discovery. Attendance matters. Let's make every day count.
We gotta clap for that one too. Yes, clap for the other one.
Okay, so next steps in our attendance improvement journey are to obviously continue the implementation of current actions, begin improvement trials, those small trials. We're going to be reconvening our attendance work group to work together with them on those areas that we haven't started yet. Monitoring progress throughout the year using EduClimber, our data management tool, and then modifying or ending or adding improvement strategies throughout the year and reporting back to you all regularly. Thank you so much.
Trustee, just one additional piece. There was a recent legislative change during the summer to independent study. We love when they do these things once school's out. And so we'll be reviewing that and bringing potentially some additional policy change to the board for consideration in September related to that. In essence, it goes down from 3 to 1 day can qualify, which we think is an additional opportunity, and it's the same rules that charter schools have operated under in the state of California. And we will be doing some additional work, such as working with our to support our elementary teachers and having pre-created curriculum that aligns with their materials so that they can be easier to put those packets together and take less of the work off of them. So we'll be bringing back some of that to you in our September. We anticipate in one of our September meetings.
Does that begin in January or no?
It can begin once we bring the policy and once we do the training. And so what we're looking to do is potentially bringing that for your consideration September 4th. And then we have a district-wide professional development day in September, and then we could do training with some of our folks with that. We also need to work with our labor partners on the effects of that. So we're working hard to bring that to you. But that just went into was passed this summer, and we're working hard to implement.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everything you've done and for the whole team and the communications. The numbers are excellent. They speak for themselves, but I just know being on campuses, just anecdotally, parents are talking about these topics. I think, the items that you've chosen to highlight for parents and to make it meaningful are really effective. And I think that it's, helping parents to make choices. I know, the term chronically absent, I think, there's an assumption that means something extreme, and as a realization has kind of come to be that, no, that actually does make an impact. I think it sounds like parents are really kind of running with that and making different choices. So thank you.
Thank you for all your work and the details in this presentation. 1% seems small, but you're really making a difference, so thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the update for the board. This is a concern I think districts are seeing statewide, and a lot of times it's just more education is needed. And so I not only appreciate the presentation tonight, so for those listening are able to see the equivalence, right, of how many playground balls we're talking about, right? Like really making it relevant to our situation. But I also look forward to the myths paper. I actually really think that might really be one of a really impactful tool because I think a lot of times there's still confusion over what's an excused absence, what's not. do excused absences, do we still receive funding? And I think when those myths are addressed, it just really helps give more knowledge and understanding to families that aren't dealing with this every single day, but that might be going, oh, this popped up or this came up. Of course, illnesses, nobody is asking for our sick children to attend school, but sometimes things do come up, and an understanding of some of those myths, what is classified, what isn't, I think will be really helpful for them. So thank you. Could you share that document with the board? Well, I know we'd receive it as parents as well, but I think it'd be great to know when that does go out, because I think the more we can just talk about it and communicate and dispel myths will help parents really be able to make those decisions for their children more.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you again for this amazing, amazing data. I sincerely appreciate it. I think that slide 12, I mean, if you look at it, if you're doing it by grade, you're just looking at that parade or that tail. I mean, we're in the average of 95% of the kids that are at 0 days. It would be interesting to see how far it drags out, but I think it's a good goal, going by grade, going by class, going by groups, and just trying to pull that together. So I think that's a good thing. I think, and again, comparing us to other districts that we talk to or have conversations with, we are doing very, very, very well, but 100% is always the goal, right?
Absolutely.
As hard as that is. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you again to you and your team. Okay. Well, with that, we will move on to item 11.1, public comment on non-agenda items. Just a few important reminders. This agenda item is to give anyone in attendance an opportunity to address the board concerning any non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A complaint about a specific employee of the district shall be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or the principal as required by Administrative Regulation 1312.1. To protect student privacy, please refrain from using student names or identifying characteristics. The board respects each individual right to express varied ideas and opinions and expects speakers to refrain from personal attacks based on protected categories under state and federal law, including race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, etc. Please be mindful that students may be watching. Please fill out a green public comment card. I will call your name to invite you to the podium and will state who is on deck. When you approach the podium, please restate your name, the city you live in, and the school your children attend. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. All comments must be respectful. Please, no profanity. Okay, looks like we have 2 comment cards turned in. First up will be Harley Larson, and on deck will be Nick Medeiros.
Hello, my name is Harley Larson. I live in Rocklin, and my kids go to Breen. We love our teachers and staff here in Rocklin, but there are problems everywhere. Here, unfortunately, they're on the board. I wanted to give new families some highlights of the current board majority over the last few years. They have introduced and passed a gender notification policy against overwhelming public opposition, modeled on a failed bill written by board president and former minister Tiffany Sadoff's employer, California Assemblyman Joe Patterson. As of last month, these policies are explicitly illegal in California, so I'm interested to see what the board is going to do since I believe the policy is still on the books. They've continued to waste millions of dollars on lawyers fighting the state and the teachers union over this policy. After initially telling the community the legal services spending wasn't an issue, they found an out-of-state political law firm to continue fighting against student rights pro bono. And just a note, this is the second time that they've contracted with conservative lawyers outside the district. They have disrespected teachers union reps at multiple board meetings, reduced public comment time from 3 minutes to 2 after being overwhelmingly called out for their policies, and rejected a 100% teacher and parent approved science curriculum without giving a reason, but the reason was the curriculum mentioned that a scientist was gay. You can read more details about these things and more at rocklinschoolboard.com. We can change this majority in a few months and get back to learning, so please make sure you're registered to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Harley. Next up is Nick Medeiros.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nick Medeiros, and I'm a proud parent of 4 Rocklin Unified School District students that currently attend 3 different schools here in Rocklin. I preface this with my spouse works from 8:30 or until, my spouse works nights until like 8:30, 9 in the morning, so getting all these children off to school in the morning falls all upon me. My oldest son is starting his sophomore year over at Rocklin High School, and the bus service has been essential in getting him there. He's an intra-district transfer, and last year we had no problem getting him off there, being that his bus area was not by our home. We were able to get him to a different bus stop, and that wasn't a problem. This year we're kind of having a little bit of headwind. I emailed a bunch of youth. I thank you, Trustee Southoff, for messaging me back last night. We did talk to the Transportation Board, who's going to look at it in about a week and a half once we see how many kids are on the bus. But that being said, I'm asking the board to kind of look at special circumstances for families and trying to get kids off to school. We have 9 more years with our kids going to the high school, and my start time's 8:30. So getting everyone where they need to be on time. If there's special circumstances for that bus to get over there, there's a bus drop-off that's by the middle school and the Springview, or the middle school and the elementary school, where we can easily drop them off. Mom picks them up when the bus is there, but have special circumstances available for the future, so we're not having to fight like the week before school of how we're going to get kids to school and get to work on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. We'll now move on to item 12.1. Trustees, do you have any items to be placed on the pending agenda?
I do have something that I would like to propose related to what Travis Mojette had brought up in his comments. He mentioned the passing of AB 1955, which for those who may not know is called the Support Academic Futures and Educators for Today's Youth Act. Since that passed, I immediately began getting questions from parents. Well, what does that mean now with the policy that is in place in our district? The board policy changes that were made September 6th of last year to Regulation 5020 and 5145.3. And my answer to them has just really been, I don't know. But what I did do was spend some time looking over AB 1955 and our policy and reading kind of what has been going on. And I know that when we first, had that discussion and those policy changes were passed, we didn't all see eye to eye on the legality of it and the language of the law and how the policy fit. But I think it's clear that with the passage of 1955 in the state of California, it makes the policy that we have on the books not in line with the law. And I do think that our board values following the law. And so what I would like to make a motion for is to put an action item on the September 4th meeting to look at discussing and taking action on returning the language for Regulation 5020 and 5145.3 to the language that was in place prior to the September 6th, 2023 meeting, as that language we know complies with the law as it stood and as it now will stand going into effect in January. So that's what I have. I don't know if I have anyone that would be willing to open that up at a meeting to talk about.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing. I'm not hearing a second, but I will share why I'm not at a place to second right now. To my knowledge, an urgency clause was not put on that bill, which means it doesn't take effect until January. And so typically what will happen when a bill has been passed and then been signed, it would then take effect in January, and then the state agency that's responsible for implementing that would contact. And to my knowledge, I haven't received any contact regarding that. So at this place, I feel with both the policy and now also the bill AB 1955, both in the middle of court hearings, in the court system, both being challenged. I'm not at a place to want to make a change to the policy. I'd rather hear the courts continue to roll it out, but thank you for bringing it forward.
Okay, I will just say, that was also a discussion in September when we were discussing these policy changes, that the courts were yet to decide on some of the definitive language, and the board chose to move forward anyway. And I would just put out there that, the litigation that's going on, I'm, assuming you're referencing Chino Valley, even if, it does end up that they say yes, like they go in favor, Chino Valley had already made language changes to their policy to be more broad, to comply with the law as it stood previous to 1955. So if we were to have that discussion and go back to the prior language in the meantime, if the law were to come out differently, very likely we would need to look at some language changes anyway, and then we could discuss that at that time. But I understand if there isn't a second.
Thank you. Well, with that, we will now move on to item 13. Hearing no other comments or questions, we'll adjourn the meeting. The meeting is now officially adjourned.